What is going on, YouTube? Smaldor here, and this is going to be kind of like one of my first videos of this type. I actually tried to, I was thinking about making another channel or whatever, but we're going to just go ahead and put it on the main channel. I just kind of want to talk about a particular topic. Is innovation in video games, specifically, obviously, it's a video game channel, is innovation in video games required for a game to be successful? And I bring up this point because of multiple games that have released this year have received a lot of praise, but also then, have received a lot of criticism as well, for not necessarily doing much innovation within the genres that they are associated with. And sure, you can see a lot of the criticism and a lot of like negativity around these games could just be, it's just the loud minority of people talking bad about something that happens to be popular, so we just gotta trash talk it. And the two games that have come to mind for myself is Expedition 33 and The Outer Worlds 2. Both games I feel like honestly don't, and I agree, I don't really think they really innovate necessarily, doing something brand new to the respective genres of games at all. But do they have to? If you go on the interwebs and just like scour, the cesspool of social media and everything, you'd be led to believe that yes, if you are not innovating and doing something brand new that's never been done before, you're a failure. You suck. It's automatic trash. And obviously anybody with half a brain knows that's not true. What really is a defining characteristic is not necessarily innovating, I think, but it's more about taking something that is proven to be done well and be successful, and then just kind of like adding your own flavor to that, making it you, right? Making it unique for yourself, having your own thumbprint, fingerprint, whatever the phrase is, to make it your identity. Let's talk about Expedition 33. This is by Sandful Entertainment, right? Very small French studio, their first game. The game is essentially a love letter to JRPGs of the 90s, early 2000s era. But it's obviously all very French inspired, and it's not a JRPG outside of just maybe some mechanical stuff. Some people may argue it is very innovative because of the reactive turn-based combat. Sorry guys, there have been plenty of other games in the past that have done this. First game that I remember playing, I mean, albeit very minorly, Mario RPG, Legend of Dragoon. I believe there's another Mario Luigi game as well that also does this. And there's probably others that have reactive turn-based combat. But the way that it's implemented is very nice. And so, okay, when you're trying to talk to these people who are like, well, it doesn't do anything innovative, therefore the game's not great. Do you pay attention to the story? Is the story good? Okay, yeah, the story's really good. The character's good? Yeah, character's really good. Music is incredible. Yeah, it's good. But the game sucks, because it doesn't innovate. I'm sorry? What? No. I mean, I guess I'm speaking for myself here, but I know I have friends that view the same way that I do, so it's not just me. I am more than happy to play something that literally does not do anything new. It does not change the wheel in any way, as long as it's done well. I think that's the key thing, the key takeaway, right? Is it done well, and do the creators put their own, their own spin on something? It doesn't have to be new, just needs to be good. And then I'm seeing the same thing again. Outer Worlds 2. I've been playing through that game right now. I'm like, well, I've played this game before 20 years ago. I played it when I played New Vegas. It's the same thing. Nothing new. So No point to play the game, or the game's boring. It's a 7, mid 6.5 out of 10. And one of the things that really got my attention about this was um like the head guy from Warhorse for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, talking about how, he plays the game and just wished that Obsidian would copy them to make their games more like their game, and it might actually be good. I don't care that The Outer Worlds 2 is, it's, you have maps, large open world maps, you explore, do your stuff, follow a story. Next map. Large open world area, explore, do your stuff. Side quests, whatever, companions, all this stuff, loot, RPG mechanics, perks, skills. Complete the story, narrative. Next area. Whatever. And I'm being kind of vague here, obviously. It's not even necessarily about the Outer Worlds 2, but that's just kind of like the genre, right? Some people might argue, oh, the floss system's new and innovative. I mean, they already basically did it in the first game. It's different now, but it's kind of the same thing. And I love it. But that's the thing though. I love it. I love just exploring a nice open world. I'm somebody who loves open world RPG games. However, it's got to be good. I've realized for my own self, like, I honestly, there are bad open world RPG games, and they get boring and become a slog and become, Some of my friends and stuff like this gave me a little bit of flack because, for speaking of other games, when we're on this open world RPG thing, I loved Horizon Zero Dawn. I absolutely loved that game because the game was very to the point. There was very small amounts of side content in the game, but there was some, and it was very meaningful. And you just followed the story of the game. And there was a lot of areas to explore and everything, but for the most part, it was a very linear experience. I always would use the phrase of, like, the game cut a lot of the fat that a lot of other games use when they bloat out their games for having all this extra content for what? Just to pad the game. I remember I was able to 100% Horizon Zero Dawn in under 30 hours. Loved it. But again, that's not to say that I don't love massive games. Witcher 3 is also one of my favorite games of all time. I think my first playthrough took like 150 hours. But that's because it was an open world that, yes, it had a lot of padding, a lot of bloat, but it was good. And so that leads me to Horizon Forbidden West. The game is good, but I felt the game was, unfortunately, it did exactly what I was glad that the first game didn't do, in that it overly bloated, padded their game. The game was like 3 times the size of Zero Dawn, if not more. There was so much open world and just extra content into the game. And don't get me wrong, some of it was good. Some of it was, I was glad and happy to do it. But I reached a point in that game, and it was one of the first times ever where I realized, I'm like, some of these games, I wish they were shorter. I wish they were smaller. And I'm bringing this up because, back to the Outer Worlds 2, I have about 60 hours in the game right now, and not for one moment have I felt like the game has been boring, or it felt like extra bloated, padded content just to pad the amount of space and time that you spend in the game. It is what it is, and it's really, really good. It's really good stuff. And it's not changing the wheel, breaking the wheel, or whatever of what an open world RPG is. It's done well. It doesn't need to innovate. Just like Expedition 33, it doesn't really need to innovate. It didn't innovate anything. Every single thing that's in Expedition 33 are things that have existed before. It's just that they're all done so well. And you can find it on my channel. I do have my thoughts, my full thoughts on the game, and it's not a perfect game. I very heavily criticize a part of the game as well. Still gonna, it's still one of the greatest games this year that have released in 2025, but that kind of, the innovation should not be required, a required necessity for something to be considered great or to be successful. All of this being said, however, I will say, when a game comes along that does everything that it does so well, that it sets out to do, if it's in, said genre, but it also innovates and pushes and does that well, that is, I think, when you achieve, like, I don't want to say the pinnacle or apex of something. Definitely don't want to use apex. That's the name of a game. But the height of something that truly is groundbreaking, incredible, amazing, generational. And I'm trying to think now, because I wasn't really planning on talking about this part, when I decided to make this video. Like, what kind of game really would be that for me? Anyway, and it's like, and this is what's really funny. It's not my favorite game of all time, but I have so many hours in the game, and I do love the game. And maybe this would resonate with a lot of people. I think it's Elden Ring. I think Elden Ring does this, which is crazy because Elden Ring also doesn't really do anything innovative per se. What Elden Ring does, especially release version of Elden Ring, before there was the map pin stuff of where the NPCs are, that was because that was added post-launch. Elden Ring took From Software, Dark Souls era, Miyazaki era of formula, and blended that together with an open world game. And I think is one of the most successful games since its release. The game is groundbreaking. It is insane. Many people would say it's their favorite FromSoft game. Many people would say it's maybe arguably their favorite game of all time. They've have thousands of hours in the game. I'm in the hundreds mark, but what it does is that it takes really old mechanics of old games, essentially, and puts it into modern day, because what's something that FromSoft is known for? They're known for the punishing aspect of their games. Their games are extremely punishing. And it's very, and as I say that, saying punishing is very important to say rather than difficult. Because I think a lot of people, when they try to tell their friends about like Dark Souls or whatever, like, oh, these are very hard games. The Souls games, or anything from software, with the exception of maybe Sekiro, they're not hard exactly. I mean, they can be, but more so than them being difficult games, they're very punishing games. They punish your mistakes, and they punish you for them really hard. And so it can be time consuming. It could really make you like, you get angry and all that kind of stuff. And so they threw this into Elden Ring, which anybody who's old enough to remember playing old games from like the 90s, and specifically I'm thinking like PC games of like the 90s. These games are super punishing because a lot of these games don't tell you literally anything and how to do anything. The games, it's just like, what just happened? How did I die? Where do I go? I don't know anything. Whereas, right, a modern open world game, you're going to have quest markers, you're going to have compasses, arrows pointing things above NPCs, telling, so you know to talk to this guy. Some games might even have literal like in-game lines so you can follow the path to where you need to go. And this is commonplace. Obviously, yellow paint. We can talk about yellow paint. There's good and bad ways to do that. That'll be a different video at some point. Elden Ring was, you come out of that mausoleum crypt thing in Limgrave. Go forth, my child. People were blown away. I remember I remember seeing other content creators and talking about, wow, this is so innovative and new and grand and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Never seen before. Technically, yeah, but maybe not meshed together like this. Which is why I've always said Elden Ring is a combination of new and old. And it's worked really well in the modern gaming environment. And which is why I'm still willing to say it is innovative in this aspect, because I believe it is. And so this is one of the modern times where the innovation makes it extra successful. But again, it doesn't have to be, guys. 2025, Expedition 33, Outer Worlds 2. I mean, these games are amazing games. Obviously, we can have our opinions on just, do you like this kind of game? Do you like the story writing? You know, of course, if you don't, then you're not going to like the game. But the games don't need to innovate to be successful and to be good. If they just do what they set out to do and it's good. Caveat too, since I've talked about nothing but like things that have like success and like, you know, things that like in that way, I can bring up Avowed. That also came out this year in 2025. Avowed, I think, was a game that, while I enjoyed it as a fan of Pillars of Eternity and that world and the lore of all of that, Avowed was kind of a letdown because I think there was a lot of expectations from the players about it, and it did not innovate in anything. And not only did it not innovate, it like, they didn't have things in the game that the average gamer already they just expect it to be in this type of game. It's a first person, I guess you could have played a third person too, but like a massive semi-open world RPG based around Pillars of Eternity, which are massive RPGs, that you're going to have all of these other types of systems in the game, and it lacked a lot. Now, to be honest, I think it actually detrimentally hurt the game pretty heavily. Because I think what the game does do, it does very, very well. Like I said, I still enjoy the game. Why? I still thought the story was great. I thought the characters were great. I thought the combat was really fun. That being said, I would have preferred a much more, I don't want to say Dragon Age-esque style system, but I mean, that would have worked. Older Dragon Age, mind you. But the game was lacking in RPG depth. It was lacking in open world depth. You know, a lot of people expect you're going to go into these kind of games like, oh, I should be able to attack anybody. I should be able to attack the guards. But the guards, you know, like, okay, then the guards are going to like kill me in one hit. I should be able to try to steal. And then, you know, I'm going to get caught, you know, for stealing or whatever. Nothing. None of those systems are in the game. And that's fine. But I think the devs needed to understand that there are so many games of this genre that exist that are kind of like this, that these are things that, like, if it's not in your game, at this point, it's kind of a problem. And it's like the opposite of innovation. You're removing mechanics in things that need to be in your game. Anyways, guys, I don't want to tangent too much on that, but hopefully, you know, I made sense. Anyways, leave any thoughts down below in the comments. What do you think? Does a game have to be innovative to be successful? Does it not need to be innovative? What's the most important aspects of what makes a game successful to you? Let me know. All right, see you guys later.